How did you feel about the relationship between the two characters, Zam and Dodola?
It was very interesting. I like how it shifted throughout. I mean, obviously, as they're children, it's going to turn into something else as they mature and their bodies mature.
Right.
It was a great coming of age.
Yeah, she starts out as because she's like an adolescent, essentially, when she is first sold by her parents into slavery. And Zam is born into slavery. He's an infant when they first meet. And so she's like a tween, very young teen when they eventually run off together and have this period of a number of years where they're living in this boat out in the middle of a desert that a river had dried up. So they have this home kind of in this ship. So she's kind of a mother, older sister to him at first, but then that obviously alters as it goes along.
And it's very slow, and it feels kind of natural almost a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I like how Thompson dealt with like his guilt and stuff like that as starting to have these feelings toward him.
Yeah, I like that too. I like that it made it a little bit more of an interesting book, whereas something like Blankets, which was semi-autobiographical.
Pretty straightforward.
It was pretty straightforward as far as like the love affair between the two teenagers, and certainly that is as true to life as anything else. But Habibi has a much more complex relationship between these two characters. And you hope that they do end up together, but you don't know what form that relationship is ultimately going to take. Will it be a brother-sister, mother-son, lovers? So that shifts around a little bit. So it's verging on kind of taboo kind of subjects, but I really like that aspect of it. It's a very earthy, kind of gritty book, especially as compared to Blankets. There's a lot about sex and sexuality and the body that is dealt with in a very frank way in the book, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, me too. One thing I will say that I didn't like as much when it started to get into more of the industrial like part of the book, when they actually went into the city and there's all these skyscrapers and stuff like that. I didn't like that as much, I guess, just because I don't know. I like kind of the magic and like the surroundings of the actual like Middle Eastern, more ambiguous.
Yeah,
well,
time. That kind of took
it's
it
more
out.
Magical.
That kind of took it out of the completely timeless aspect of it. When you start, it's almost a shock when you see at the end skyscrapers and bulldozers and things, and you're like, oh, okay, this is much closer to a present day kind of reality than I had assumed. So I think maybe it would be fair to say that maybe was not as strong, but again, I don't think I would really criticize it for that, because I did think a lot of the stuff there was interesting.
It was interesting. I'm just saying I didn't like it as much as the other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it felt very epic and stuff before, and when it got to that period, it just, I don't know, I feel like it lost a little bit of its magic. And they kind of grounded more a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, in reality. And I kind of just like them as almost like, I don't know, almost like a mythological figure.
Yeah, it had the feel of like a fairy tale, and of course it's interspersed with all these stories from the Quran and things like that, so it did have kind of a timeless feel. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think it would not have necessarily been a stronger book had it been set in 2004, in this particular country, with this person as the leader of that country, and this going on politically. It helped it kind of opened the story up to have it be a little bit more timeless, to leave those kinds of questions of specific time and place a little bit more open-ended. But I still feel like there was enough of that kind of ambiguity towards the end, when the modern world did start to encroach on their lives a little bit. I just feel like Craig Thompson is just wrestling with a lot of themes here. And the contrast of the modern world and industrialization and capitalism versus a kind of older world that these characters are familiar with is one of those themes.
Yeah.
So I thought the latter half of the book is his way of kind of dealing with that, and I thought it was mostly well done.
Yeah, I do think also at the end he did. There was a lot with like dealing with the figures of like the letters and the calligraphy of the Middle East, I guess, during that time. And I wasn't as interested in that. Like, you know, earlier on it was a lot of like the stories and stuff like that of the crayon and customs and stuff. And here it's just like, it's a letter. I don't know, it was a little, he was like trying to like draw parallels.
It got a little cerebral.
Yeah, it got a little, it got kind of, I feel like it got away from him a little bit when he was trying to tie a lot of stuff in together and stuff.
At the very end, and I mean, admittedly, I'm not sure I followed all of the connections that he was trying to make, and that's on me, not necessarily on Craig Thompson for a lot of that. At the end, a little bit, I did start to feel like he was pushing some of these parallels he was drawing between, like, the magic square and, you know, this letter represents this, and that ties into Zam, you know, kind of trying to connect everything in these metaphors. You know, see the artist's hand a little bit too much in a way that I don't always really appreciate. A little, so maybe a little far at the end with that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I was pretty interested in the mysticism and the significance of the letters and the numbers and all that. There's just a lot here. There's a lot going on. You know, on one level, it functions just as a love story. On another level, you know, it's a book about spirituality and
I will say my favorite part of the book is when Dodella was in the palace as part of the harem. I really like that part a lot. It almost had a feel of like the 1001 Arabian Nights a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So I like that kind of flavor was brought into the book during that time period where she's trying to impress the Sultan. She was like given a challenge to kind of bring out this like mythological aspect of herself that people saw her as like this entity in the desert, trying to like recapture that a little bit. But I don't know, I thought that was my favorite part of the book.
Okay.
But I also liked the period with Zam when he was before he came to the palace, when he was dealing with his sexuality and deciding to become a eunuch. Yeah. So those are my two favorite parts of it.
Yeah, I probably thought that the part where Zam was on his own, and he was kind of taken in by the group of eunuchs, that kind of sect, this kind of religious sect or group of eunuchs. That was pretty compelling stuff. I like the initial period where they did have this life together in this boat. You saw Zam kind of grow up. There's that great kind of series of panels that ran across the bottom of several of those pages, kind of showing the passage of time, where the two characters who were children, basically, when they ran away together, had this kind of pseudo-mother-son, big sister, little brother relationship. They would sleep together and bathe together. And these panels that ran across the bottom of the pages during that period would kind of show them bathing together in this little tub, you know, kind of one panel representing every year, and you could see them getting older, and obviously bodies changing, and their relationship then would start to change as well. So that kind of stuff was all very well handled. I enjoyed that. I really kind of enjoyed every part of the book to one degree or another, and I was impressed that Craig Thompson was such a versatile, confident artist that seems like he can pretty much draw anything in this book. Like he illustrates these ancient stories from the Quran as beautifully as he illustrates a garbage-strewn slum in like a more modern day setting. And then he's equally as comfortable in a opulent palace. So he's just a really talented cartoonist, versatile cartoonist. So he aimed high with this book, and I think for the most part he pretty much has the chops to pull it off. So I really dug it. It was a really fun read.
Yep, and beautifully designed too. I love the design of it.
Yep, it's a great looking book. And it really makes an impact. I'm sure it'll be one of the kind of big books of the year. So I really enjoyed it. It was good. Better, I think, than Blankets.
I would agree.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other point I wanted to make about it. I guess not. The letter, he's a great letterer too.
Okay.
Really, his lettering is beautiful. I mean, I love that.
Letterers don't get much credit, so.
Well, but here I think they really stand out. You know, it really has a nice handcrafted feel. Even the balloons for the lettering, it's all very beautiful, very fluid looking, nice inky line work. Somewhat reminiscent of like Will Eisner. I kind of thought of Will Eisner a few times when I was reading this. It's probably most similar to him in art style, so I really liked it. There'll probably be another 7, 8, 9 years before we see another graphic novel by Craig Thompson, so we'll have to savor this one in the meanwhile.
Yeah, but obviously with this one it was worth the wait, so...
Yeah, really good. Yeah, really good book. I liked it a lot.
All right, so 2 thumbs up,
Yep,
if I can say that.
2 thumbs up for Habibi. It's a great book. Definitely one you should check out.
Yep. All right, I guess that's it for this time, and we will see you next week.